Speaking of signature wins, there's an opportunity for Munster to absolutely throttle Gloucester as well. You're very confident, Dave, talking around the office this week.
Yeah, and again, most of my Toulouse opinion is based on what I saw last Sunday or last Saturday and the 15 on paper that are going to start this game. And like Toulouse, I would be very much the same road when it comes to my thoughts on Gloucester. I watched the Cast game. It was a terrible game.
In fairness, the weather didn't do them anything. It was
but
bucking.
At the same time, if you compare it to, say, the way Gloucester played to the way Munster played against Exeter the previous day, there's absolutely no comparison. The way Munster defended, now they did fall off 18 tackles, I think, in the Exeter game, but that was because they were asked to make 185 tackles. And so, they still came up with an 85% tackle success rate. But Cast had their chances to win that game. And their top scorer is not in the team, Charlie Sharples. I'm scouring the internet to find a reason why. He was part of their media build-up, he did an interview in the build-up to the game, so unless he's picked up something in training, he's not in the team. And they have so little experience on the bench, pretty much nothing on the bench outside of...
Brian Grobler knows the calls.
He's on the bench, yeah.
There's been a lot read into the inside track that Ger Gilroy might be able to give Gloucester, but let's not forget that JP Ferreira was Ackerman's defence coach for years. If anybody knows the way Ackerman likes to set his team up and attack the spaces, it's JP Ferreira, the Munster defence coach. So, and you can give and take on the inside track side of things. But
even if they know the calls, Peter Manny's still going to win it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He's going to win it.
Exactly, yeah.
I look at the back five in the Munster pack, and Gloucester cannot compete with that.
That said, it'd be interesting to see what happens at set piece. Gloucester they were statistically the best scrummagers in round one.
Yeah, they were 9 from 9 in round one.
Yeah. And Munster have now gone and changed their two props, and Niall Scannell's been a forced change, but they definitely got a bit of trouble certainly Kilcoyne got a bit of trouble from Williams in the first round match. So set piece is huge, but I just cannot see how Munster will not give Gloucester a good going over. I think this Gloucester team, they've shown massive promise this year, and they look as though they're a team that are coming, but as of yet they're massively unproven. And if you want to get some respect, there's no better place to start than in Thomond Park. But I just don't see it happening.
The other side of that is there's no better place to get completely spanked as well if Munster get into this early and start going at them the way we think they're going to. A question from Neil Ormond on Facebook. Will Peter O'Mahony's scrum binding be looked at this weekend by the referees after the media highlighted that he wasn't binding onto the lock like the rules say he should?
Probably, yeah, probably.
Has to,
But yeah, but as Donncha O'Callaghan said in commentary, it's a pretty selfless thing. Most sixes aren't thinking about how much scrummaging they're doing. They're thinking of the back rower breaking out, or do they get the switch play if 10 does it with 12. I'm thinking picking that player up.
Yeah.
Whereas he's thinking, it also shows the mentality that they knew they were in trouble at scrum time, and that he had to do it. It was a necessity. But
it's a big risk, though, isn't it?
Referees talk about it. Yeah. It is a big risk.
Because all it takes is for one right in front of the post, and you can even see it a few times.
He's not going to do it. He's been
doing it on every scrum this season.
But there'll be different versions, I assure you, on their put in under the posts.
Every single one this season he has done it. It's been on the ref cams. It's been on the ref cams in front of, you can see it directly underneath the referee's eyes.
He's no fool. It might, I think he's given it more force further out the pitch. He's not going to be able to go into the video session on a Monday and go, I did a great job at the scrum. I know I missed the back row, the number 8 breaking wide, and they scored. He's given a little bit of that, so it's a 60-40 where other times it might be 60-40.
It's even taking the risk of giving away a penalty 22 yards out at a crucial time in the game.
Yeah.
It just takes the referee one chance to see that and go, actually, he's doing that now.
But are referees going to be blowing it? I think a referee's going to have a word. I think it would be pretty harsh for a referee to blow a straight penalty going, I didn't like your bind, particularly when they're not having an effect. I think it's like, I'm not going to put up with that today. If you do it, I'll penalise you. I think that's the way any referee should look at it, because it's not an illegal bind of a front rower. It's, yes, you're having an impact, but it's a good sort of cheating, where
when flankers do it, it's a good sort of cheating.
Yeah, but if a referee goes, I don't want to see that, and he does it, well then that's idiotic, but he won't. If he's told not to do it, he'll stop.
Can we talk about Carbery then? How is he getting on? What level of performance are we seeing from him as somebody who's getting game time at 10 now?
Yeah, I think he's doing really well. I think we're going to see a big evolution of the Munster game plan because of him. I said it on the road show down in Limerick, because of him, because of Tyburn, the way that they can play the game.
Tyburn's good, isn't he?
I think Tyburn is going to really push hard for that Ireland 23. He picks very clever lines because he has to, because he's not the biggest second row in the world, and if he runs into traffic he can get annihilated. So he's a bit like Josh van der Fleer, where he's clever and he spots the space and he runs hard early and catches players looking, ball watching, and he catches inside shoulders, and that's how he makes his impacts. And then obviously over the ball he's immovable.
Well,
he is one of the best poachers out there.
And does that kind of turn us into like Australia with Pocock and?
Well, if you've got a second row doing it as well, Henderson is really good at it as well. For a big man, I haven't seen a whole lot. I've never seen Dev stealing a ball. haven't seen James Ryan yet, but he's done everything else. So. Yeah. But to have that, but also the fact that he can move in, he can play second row, back row, to have the opportunity to, if your second rows are going really well, particularly when they're youngish guys like James Ryan and Henderson, for instance, if they're going to do 80 minutes, to be able to change two of your back rowers, to have two back rowers on a bench is absolutely huge, where one can also fit into the second row, like Fardy's doing with Leinster this weekend. That's a real luxury to have that. Okay,
and that also then, it does turn your team into a team that suddenly is competing at every facet of the game. It's like whoever is arriving and challenging at the ruck, they're all confident that they can try and steal the ball.
But it's also, if you watch Tyburn, it's the cleverness of when he goes for it. He doesn't, it's like George Smith. He doesn't waste his time on rucks that he knows are dead. It's not like, I'll really fight for this one, even though it's very heavily stacked in, the attack's favour. It's like, I'll leave this one off.
Yeah.
The one will come in a second. Patient, cleverly patient.
But we were talking about tiers, and you were mentioning the teams who could actually take on Leinster at the moment. Like, this is a Munster team who don't really have anywhere near their first choice backline available to them at the moment. We don't know what their best centre partnership is going to be, and they obviously didn't have Keith Earls last week, and yet they were at Exeter, which is apparently this terrifying ground that all of Europe has real struggles to go to, and
all of the Premiership.
Yeah. Leinster won there. Now Munster probably should have won there.
They should have won.
They should have won. Like, you get
the missing Earls, Farrell, Tauta and Murray.
Yeah.
They're probably all starting. Maybe that's a bit doing a bit of a disservice to Rory Scannell, who probably outside of the Racing semi-final has not played a bad game for Munster in
I would probably have Scannell and Farrell in the centre.
I think so too. I think Scannell starts at 12. It's what he does. I think that left foot as well is important to have, but he doesn't have bad games,
and he's very physical as well.
If you had him there with,
I think him and
Chris
Farrell are the
Murray
number one
at 9,
partnership
Earls on
as
the
well.
wing,
Andrew Conway and Mike Haley with Joey Carbery.
Superb back
That's
line.
a very, very tidy back line.
Brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, it
It's very tidy.
It must feel great. Like, if they go into the fixtures in round 3 and 4 with possibly 7 points, minus those guys, Van Graan will feel like he's in a really good place, particularly with Farrell and Tauta back in training. Murray, according to himself a week ago, is nearing a return. Obviously that's shrouded in doubt because we've got so much little information on it. And then the continued improvement of Mike Haley. We know what we're getting from Conway, and Carbery will be even more settled at that stage. He starts at 10 tomorrow. It equals the number of starts in the Champions Cup at out half that he ever made for Leinster in the space of a week. And already you can just see why it was so important that he made the move.
But it was also, he did a nice mixture to his game. It was those long searching kicks that we don't associate with him. We all know what he's good at, but it's
except for that very long searching one at the end.
Yeah, but there's nothing in that.
I mean, the wind was outrageous there. The wind was just outrageous there last week.
And yeah, so I think if they lose the game, he gets beaten up over that.
Yeah.
I think we can cut him a little bit of slack. But I think the result, some other lovely touches, good proficient defender. He's still only 6 or 7 games into the season with them too. Like, he's getting to know. But I tell you what, saw him celebrate the hardest on Standards try.
Yeah.
He is properly invested now.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's not. He's not
coming
thinking.
back.
He's not thinking. I'll do a couple of years down here. He's in.
Yeah. Totally. So they're going to win, and that's going to be straightforward, and it's going to be a bonus point win for them. And if it isn't, anything else is a disaster.
It's not a disaster, but it's an opportunity lost. You need to be picking up 5 points, because I think Castor in this in a big way. You can usually write Castor off in the Champions Cup.
Do you think Cas beat Exeter this weekend?
At home, I think they have a brilliant chance of beating them. They don't lose many games at home, whether they're...
Exeter don't lose many games. Exeter are very, very good on the road.
They are, but...
And as well, off the back of a disappointment, they're a phenomenal team to react well. And they will be disappointed that they only drew at home.
But we've seen
and they'll know
in the
that
past.
they have to go on the road and win now, having given up 2 points at home.
We've seen Cas teams multiple times in the last 10 years out of the competition in rounds 5 or 6, beating good teams at home because they just don't want to lose games at home. And they're the top 14 champions. They've got their new
How, by the
European
way? I don't know how they're top 14 champions. You know, you
Well,
look
on
at-
paper, you're thinking how. But they obviously know how. I mean, it's their second title in, what, six seasons? I mean, it's ridiculous for a club of their stature. But now that they've gone away from home in week 1 and picked up a bonus point, they'll be thinking, why not give the European campaign a bit more of a rattle than we have in the past? And with Munster home and away still to come, I think I wouldn't be surprised if Cas win this game. And what does that do for Exeter? They're seriously behind the 8 ball then in this pool.
They're in major trouble, but then, they're in major trouble.
Although they'll fancy their chances of picking up 10 points in the back-to-back games at Gloucester after that. So they'll definitely still be in it
After
before
Christmas.
they've cast at home after Christmas and then Munster away.
Well, you would hope that there will be a lot at stake in that return fixture in Thomond Park, where Exeter have to go and pick up a win, which you would imagine now, even off the first round, that they're going to need to do.
Yeah. Oh no, totally. They absolutely will have to, because you can see Munster also picking up all full points against Gloucester in both these games.
Yeah.
If Gloucester are as bad as advertised.
But they're not. They're not. Gloucester have been good in the Premiership, by the way. They've been very good in parts.
So why Dave's predicting like a 30-point
But when you say Gloucester have been good in the Premiership in parts, what does that actually mean anymore?
Well,
we saw Wasps have been decent. They're fourth behind a Wasps team annihilated by Leinster last week.
Yeah.
I think it's been very hard to get a read on Gloucester season. Started really, really well. And Cipriani in particular started unbelievably.
And since then, he was Player of the Month in the Premiership for September. Since then, they've lost guy after guy from their pack. There are 11 guys down in the pack, to the point that Matt Banahan was nearly going to have to play as a forward had he come off the bench last weekend. And now their top scorer, Charlie Sharples, is gone. It's not that I don't think their squad is decent, but it's decimated. And they were not great last weekend, albeit, as you say, Neil, in pretty difficult conditions to play a decent brand of rugby. And Ackerman has definitely improved them. He's got them back into the Champions Cup for the first time since 2013, 2014. Look at the 23 they've picked. Like, who in there is going to convince you that they could be a real force in this competition?
Well, look, let's move on from that, because we'll see. Question here: Can Munster, from Ronan Fitzgerald asking on YouTube, can Munster really challenge in Europe? Is it really about having good backs, or is there just not enough carrying in the forwards compared to Leinster? The Exeter game is a case in point. Do they have enough ball carriers? Do you need ball carriers as much as...
They could do with another one. They could.
Is that why Tommy O'Donnell's back in this week instead of Chris Cloutey?
But he made a great impact. But Tommy, he's a nice ball carrier, but he's not destructive. I think if you look at that Leinster pack, comparatively, you've got Sean Cronin, you've got Cian Healy, you've got James Ryan picking lines, you've got Furlong that can carry two, and then all your back rowers plus Sean O'Brien.
All 8 of them, really.
Devon still carries a good bit, but probably the worst of the ball carriers that you'd choose from that. So that there's a lot of go forward there. I think, when you look at the tight heads, Archer and Ryan, neither of them really ball carriers. Scannell's not bad. Kilcoyne on his day.
Kilcoyne will,
Klein, fine. Tygburn picks good lines, but isn't. So it's really this. That's why there's such a reliance on CJ.
Yeah.
In particular, CJ.
And it gets a little bit predictable with Stander.
Well, yeah.
He
doesn't pass that much. He doesn't.
Yeah.
And so teams are analysing that. So that's where I think that's where the likes of Billy Vunipola evolved his game a couple of seasons ago, where he became this playmaker as well as this ball carrier.
Yeah.
And Sean O'Brien's done a little bit of that as well.
Yeah.
And it's almost an evolution where there's a bit of the Skulk Burger in it, where you just got fed up getting beaten up. and get someone else to do it, but also create space for you.
Yeah.
You tip
and
on three.
That's why Ty Byrne as well is so good with the ball as well, because he's likely to pass it as much as he is to carry it.
Yeah.
And it just creates
he's
a little bit of
playmaker. Exactly. Once it goes into his arms, he has options.
Yeah.
Whereas there's certain players that get it and you go, right, will think Jam and Hustle can bang in on this because he's not shifting it.
Yeah.
Whose job is it to get CJ Stander to become that player? I mean, obviously he's thinking about it himself, but
I think it can happen. It has to happen provincially. I think there's only so much coaching that can happen come international. But that said, he does a very effective job when he does carry.
Yeah.
When they need a hard metre or two, give it to him.
Yeah.
So he does that as well. So it's just making life a little bit easier for him.
But those yards will become much easier.
They will become easier, I think, if there's an evolution to his game.
Yeah.
On the question of whether they can challenge in Europe, like we almost forget that they have been to the last 2 semi-finals, and if they top the pool and they get a home quarter final, well, they're challenging in Europe straight away, because you think a semi-final's almost a guarantee.
There's been a big gulf in class by the time they got to semi-final.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have been in the semi last year, other than that abysmal defending. It was a great try from Andrew Conway, but abysmal defending from
Toulon.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who was playing 10 for that kick and chase.
Oh, it was Trindu, wasn't it?
Yeah, God, it was appalling. It was like marking space. But yeah, great footwork, and fine, they got it done. But then
the Murray try as well at that ruck, about a half a yard from the try.
That's smart. I prefer that's smart. Whereas I just thought
you don't want to be conceding that.
I thought the defence on that kick chase, when it's championship minutes, I just thought that was soft. But Munster, you get to a semi-final, of course. Yeah, you have a big performance, then you're in a final. And finals have been lost by better comfortable favourites, that's for sure.
Thanks a million for watching. If you want to subscribe, well, there's the button right there. If you want to see more videos, hit that down there.